What's up, man?
There he is, the millionaire next door himself. Good to see you, bro. It's that time again, boys. It's time for a story. Yes, it's story time. Gavin, Mehl coming at you. Just down here with a friend of mine called Rich. I hadn't seen in a while, and he reminded me of a great story that I lived through called The Millionaire Next Door. I'm going to tell it to you. When I first graduated high school, a friend of mine, Dave Ricky, he got me a job at Macy's selling pots and pans, cookware. Right out of high school. I think I was just still playing baseball in college, or like just kind of in the off season. I started getting into sales and selling little pots and pans. I did well with it. I did that for like 2 years, maybe a year and a half, and I got promoted over to furniture. Small little store, not really a lot going on. It was so small, there was like very little volume. I was like, me and a couple of the guys in the furniture department, we're talking doing no sales at all, hardly. I brown-nosed the store manager, this guy Rich Young, a little bit. I sweet-talked him, I pulled it up to his ego, and he ended up getting me in the furniture department. So I did okay over there, I did well, there was a store downtown that I knew that was like the top store in the entire nation. It was like the big store. It was the #1 store. I knew about it, and I heard the legend of the guys making like 6 figures a year down there. And I kept bugging him. I was like, hey, I want to get downtown. I want to make it. I know I can make it down there. I'm still really young. I'm in college. I'm not even 21. I'm under, So finally he puts me down there. And this store was rough. He's like, Gavin, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so rough. They're going to be so mean to you. You have no idea. He's like, there's nobody new there. These guys have been there 20, 30 years. They're making 6 figures a year in their sleep. There's some guys that they're making $300,000. I'm like, what? This is crazy money. I was like, I don't care what I have to do. If I could make 6 figures, I would freaking cut my arm off. I'm thinking, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is crazy. What? Like, this is like unbelievable. So I'm like, I'll do anything. So like, get me down there. And these guys are just ruthless. So imagine an environment like today, when you go into a sales environment, it's going to be what's called an up system. Where, all right, it's your turn, and you get the sales call. Or let's say you're a car salesman. The next customer comes in, that's going to be your customer. And you go out and you greet the customer, hey, how you doing today? And you're going to stick with that customer until they either, buy or walk, right? Glenn Ross would say, blank or walk. So like in this environment though, this was really old school, and it was extremely, like I said, ruthless. It was called a free-for-all, where what they would do is all the top guys, what they would call sharks and bullies, they would just come in there, and when people would walk in, they would gravitate to them right away, and they would make them their own. They would claim them, and then if I tried to approach one of these other people, they would attack me. Not really physically, but kind of almost physically, but definitely verbally. Threaten me, scare the heck out of me. So this went on for a long time. I'm like, dude, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? So like, how am I going to make it, It was really, really hard. Finally, I was like, that's just how it's going to be. If they're going to have to be bullies down here and going after people like that, then I'm going to have to do the same thing. But the thing is I have to go out there and be very gentlemanly like to the customer too. You can't be like elbowing the guy in front of you, being making a football move to get the customer. You have to like, hi, how are you today? You want to win the customer over. Be smooth about it, while at the same time being aggressive and not the other guy get it. So there's this guy called Gregg. He was the only guy that actually gave me the time of day and talked to me. Out of all these sharks, all these bullies in the environment, he actually, he was a bully to me for a while, but he saw that I had potential. So he actually sat down with me. He's like, hey, listen. And he told me everything. He's like, here's how you need to do things. And of course, he taught me everything the wrong way on purpose so that I would mess up. That's understandable, but he's really sly about it. I knew because I saw the sales numbers. I knew that Gregg was making a lot of money. I knew that he was what's called a $1 million producer. That means he's making over 6 figures a year. This is all the way back in like 2000, 2001 for the first big .com crash. Actually, no, this is, back in 99, 2000. Gregg had already been there for some 10 or more years. He had a lot of experience, and he saved a ton of money. He's married, no kids, his wife was successful. He was set. He told me, he's like, Gavin, I act as if I'm poor, as if I'm broke, as if I have no money. I'm like, I knew that he was well off. I knew he was wealthy, a millionaire, in fact. But he never acted that way. So I'm like ripe in the fraternity, you know, college age, ripe, ready to go. But I'm like, I'm really proud of my work environment and I'm new there, so I want to show off. And so I invite Gregg out to one of the bars, a bar called Pine Cove that we used to go to back in Delta Chi when I was a pledge. And so I'd bring Gregg out there and I want to like show him off. And I was like, oh no, this guy's really successful. He's a successful millionaire, killing it. And Gregg comes in there like as if he's got no money. He can't even buy a drink. He can't afford anything. He's struggling to make any sales, and he's very convincing about it. And they don't believe me that he's anybody. You know, he's just some schmuck barely able to buy a drink. I'm thinking, what's this guy's deal? He goes behind my back and he tells him just the opposite, that he can't make any sales. He's got no money. You know, that he's basically got nothing. Tie the whole story together for the idea of the millionaire next door. Sometimes it's better to be the guy who has all the money, but no one knows has the money. I knew he had the money because I worked with him. And I had a big mouth and I'm telling these guys, but everyone else he told thought he had nothing. They thought he was just some poor guy, barely getting by, schmuck salesman selling furniture, no money, making minimum wage. At least that was the impression that he gave off. For whatever reason it was. But the millionaire next door, he actually had all the money. He had the house paid for. He had the stocks trading. He had the Mercedes paid for in cash. And just wads of cash in his pocket that he'd carry around. But tell everyone just the opposite. I learned a lot from Gregg, and my friend Rich reminded me of that story, and I thought it'd be something valuable I could share with you guys today because it just was such a touching, influential time in my life when I was at young, ripe age, and I learned the lesson in humility, the lesson in once you really get it, maybe it's not best to show it off. Maybe there's really no value in him showing it off. Maybe the real value was in having nobody know that he actually had all the money. Maybe that was the real value for him. Because my mind was just the opposite of that time. I wanted to have everybody know that I was in furniture, that I could make money, right? Like I had potential. I wasn't making anything yet, but I wanted people to know that I had potential, that I was gonna be somebody. I could do it. He'd already made it and he had that humble humility about him. Became the millionaire next door. Well, a lot of other guys became all talk and no action. So, Gavin Mehl coming at you. If you like this video, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time, brother. I'll put another video here at the end as well on similar story topics that you may like, get something out of. All right? It's a great day. Summertime, San Francisco. Another day in paradise. There he is, the millionaire next door himself. This guy.